Kissy, save your lips for the prepackaged candy assortments.
Okay, everyone, get ready to look at more of the top 10 worst candies ever made, ranked. While candy certainly is delicious, not everyone deserves a spot on the podium.
Did you just steal candies? Yes!
Jawbreakers.
Gummy Jawbreakers!
Candy is supposed to be an enjoyable way to satisfy your sweet tooth. While yes, it's never ever good for your actual teeth, one little candy never hurt anyone. However, there are some exceptions. Jawbreakers. The name practically speaks for itself. Let's just say incidents involving chipped or cracked teeth after eating a jawbreaker are not that uncommon.
What?
Unless you hate your teeth with a passion, it is not advised to bite directly into one of these. Instead, you get all the flavor and all the sugar from licking and sucking on it for ages. Because, well, obviously, with the size of these things, it's impossible to finish it all in one sitting. Most of the time, you'll have to save your spit-laden jawbreaker in a plastic baggie until you're ready to get back to it. Plus, can we talk about the level of sugar these bad boys contain? Oh, and the citric acid? That thing will literally dissolve enamel from your teeth. It just feels like way too much effort with too many negative effects just to extract only a little bit of flavor. Jawbreakers are supposedly meant to be enjoyed and savored over a long period of time. But if that's what it takes, maybe we'll pass.
Pass.
Yeah.
SweeTarts.
SweeTarts, Jolly Ranchers, and the like.
SweeTarts are definitely icons of their generation. Around since literally what feels like forever, everyone has tried or at least heard of SweeTarts. They used to be one of the best candy around, but that has since changed as new candies have emerged to steal the show. First of all, there's this weird trend of having candies look like medicine. What's that all about? A round, sugary, pastel-colored candy designed to look like little tablets? It's not only about the allure of the candy, but also about how unhealthy they are for you. Of course, SweeTarts pack a lot of sugar. Shocker, right? However, they also pack an impressive amount of refined carbohydrates, which can become detrimental to your health if taken in high quantities. Refined carbohydrates play a role in the development of type 2 diabetes and contribute to obesity.
No superpowers at all.
I have both type 1 and 2 diabetes.
Ow!
While a handful of SweeTarts won't directly cause all of these negative effects, depending on your sweet tart consumption, they could become an issue. If you can limit your consumption of these tempting little candies and not make it a daily thing, then sure, you could keep treating yourself to some at your own risk.
Good luck with that.
Fireballs.
Fireball! Cut!
Spicy food is a touchy subject for some. It's not everyone who enjoys a little added fuego to their food, but the addition of spice is starting to become more widespread. With that said, you can still imagine how a spicy candy could attract a lot of negative feedback. We're talking about the good old Fireball, the candy and not the cinnamon whiskey. The Atomic Fireball candy has been around since the 1950s and has remained fairly popular throughout the ages. Named during the Cold War, these were intended to be super intense cinnamon candies. Again, going back to our trusty Jawbreaker here, Fireballs are pretty much the same concept, only smaller and, oh, a lot spicier. If you love hot candy, then this one could meet most of your demands.
Delicious.
But if you prefer your sweets to be, well, sweet, don't bother going near this ball of fire. The one big downside you get from eating Fireball candy is the annoying burning sensation it brings with it. This is because it contains capsaicin, the compound that makes hot peppers spicy, which binds with a protein that detects body temperature. Basically, it makes you feel like your tongue is melting in your mouth. Not exactly the best feeling there is.
It makes sense, doesn't it?
Everlasting Gobstoppers.
I'm immortal and I can't be hurt.
The Willy Wonka Candy Company has bestowed upon us many fun and tasty candies over the years. With each more appealing than the last, it seems impossible not to find one to satisfy your cravings. Yet there is one candy that comes to mind, and that's the Everlasting Gobstoppers. Pretty similar to Jawbreakers, only smaller, the Everlasting Gobstoppers are anything but fun to eat.
Close your mouth when you chew, Steven.
Don't do that.
Sure, they are colorful and they remind us of the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory movie, but overall, that's about the only good thing they really do. The hard, long-lasting candy is made to last forever, or at least a very long time, so it would make sense that they're not the quickest candy to eat. Obviously, they don't last forever like in the movie, but it still comes pretty close, which can be annoying at times. Once you've gone from one color layer, you're greeted with another one, and another flavor. Sounds like a pretty neat concept, right? But getting from one layer to another is often way too long and not necessarily worth it. So unless your goal is to make the fun last as long as possible, there are about 100 other candies you can choose from.
So what's it gonna be?
Butterscotch Candies.
Another butterscotch candy?
Don't get us wrong, candies with caramel are divine. Think of Snickers, Twix, or even Rolos. They're all gems of the candy world. However, not every caramel-based candy has the same reputation. Butterscotch candies, for instance, are probably the most underwhelming, disappointing candies to ever get in your trick-or-treating bag. There's a reason why they're usually seen as the candy that Granny gives you. They're not colorful, they're not overly sweet, and they don't have any fancy packaging, flavor, or cool names. They're associated with the older generation because they're not as flashy compared to the array of hip candies available nowadays.
Yeah, it's true.
But apart from being boring and done with, butterscotch is also, shockingly, not so great for you. Like we've mentioned before with the majority of candies on this list, candy is made with a lot of sugar. And since sugar has no protein whatsoever, it offers no nutritional benefits. Butterscotch, in general, breaks new records in terms of sugar and carb content. It's the perfect recipe to have a negative impact on your health. Maybe refraining from eating butterscotch would be best not only for your reputation as a youngster, but also for your well-being.
It's for your own good.
Red vines.
Red vines, anyone?
Red licorice is one of the most iconic candies, no questions asked. Notice how we said red and not the black one? It's almost universally agreed upon that black licorice is just straight up awful. We can all also agree that Twizzlers is the best brand of red licorice possibly ever. They're chewy, flavorful, and just so much fun to eat. Obviously, a lot of knockoff brands have been trying to recreate the winning recipe, and, well, they haven't always been very successful. Red vines are the perfect example of a poorly executed idea. These are basically lower-level Twizzlers, really. Some even say that they're complete wannabes.
I want to be if you want to be.
This negative comparison is mostly due to the very noticeable gap in terms of the texture and flavor of both products. The Twizzlers are usually described as soft and savory, while Red Vines have a gritty texture and lack of flavor. It's incredible how two confections that are so similar can produce two completely different responses. Sure, Red Vines might have fewer ingredients and no preservatives, but that's not always good. It also means that they can go stale way more quickly than Twizzlers. So if you're going to indulge in some licorice, why not go for the real deal instead of buying the wannabe version?
A little girl likes red vines!
Lemonheads.
What are you selling?
Halloween, or any other occasion filled with candy, is supposed to be a joyful time where you get to experience some of the best sweet treats. From sour gummies to chewy bubblegum, the possibilities are endless. With that in mind, why should anything that tastes like bitter lemon juice ever be associated with the goodness that is candy? Many people are familiar with Lemonheads, those kind of big, round, bright yellow lemon-flavored balls with the little citrus head as the mascot. While yes, these have been a rather popular choice for decades, maybe it's time to face the music and agree that they're not the most enjoyable candy out there.
It's time I accept the truth and stop hiding!
With an intense bitter taste and a hardened shell, they can quickly fall into the same category as Jawbreakers, unpleasantly hard candy that's harmful to your teeth and your general health. First introduced in 1962, Lemonheads are no stranger to the candy world. Some people say Lemonheads are the perfect mix of sweet and tart, while while others say they simply cannot stand the sour taste that makes you wince every single time. Opinions might not be unanimous, but the nutrition, or lack thereof, does not lie. It does have a fat-free status, but with mountains of sugar, that plus is quickly thrown out the window.
It's just not worth it.
Mary Jane's.
What is that? What is that?
If there was a prize for the most unwanted Halloween candy, Mary Jane's would win the crown with flying colors. As a funky peanut butter molasses-flavored taffy, you can tell right away that this candy won't be winning any popularity contests. Even though they've been around for a very, very long time, they did disappear for a while. But Mary Jane's are surprisingly still out and about, but they can be a little less common to come by. The old-fashioned taffy was created in the 1910s and hasn't gotten any better since. You would think after that many years the recipe would have improved. Since it's a taffy, it's undoubtedly bad for your teeth. Actually, let's put it this way, it's one of the worst candies for you, period. Mostly because more than half of the ingredients are different sugars, both natural and added, and it has a whole lot of processed additives that just make it borderline inedible.
That's borderline black. I wouldn't eat that if I were you. You're an idiot.
Why else do you think it's so hard to chew? Anything that hard to eat isn't good for your teeth no matter what it is. If it's also full of sugar, even worse. If you care about your teeth, even just a tiny bit, do them a favor and stay away from Mary Jane's.
Trust me when I say this.
Dum Dums.
Me no dum-dum, you dum-dum.
Okay, it's no secret that lollipops in general are the last thing your teeth need. Filled with sugar, they just don't do a lot of good except maybe give you an intense sugar rush. Experts even say that the longer a food sticks to the teeth, the longer the bacteria can feed on it. And what do you do with a lollipop? You keep it in your mouth for long periods of time, meaning the damage is amplified. This is why Dum Dums are just about the worst candy you could ever subject your teeth to.
I'm for real. I'm for real.
Sure, they've got a lot of interesting and fun flavors that aren't necessarily offered by other candy makers, like cream soda or even root beer, and yes, they do have less than 25 calories each and contain no fat, so points to Dum Dums for that. However, in the long run, they're still very bad for you, and the cherry on top, they are so tiny. Yes, this is done for portion control, but it could end up doing more harm than good. If you see a tiny candy, you're more likely to eat another and another and another until you've eaten most of the bag. Maybe that's why the calorie count is so low. They know you'll eat more than one. Lollipops are mostly sugar, and sugar, at least this kind of sugar, isn't much good for you. If you eat enough Dum Dums, you'll find yourself at an increased risk of cavities, gum disease, and other oral health problems. So unless you want to do just that, avoid Dum Dums. They're just not worth it.
Good to know.
Wax lips.
Mama!
This shouldn't come as a surprise. It's got the word wax in the name. How great can it actually be? Answer, not very. Wax lips have been around since the 1940s, and despite their questionable edible properties, they are still sold today. There's a lot of controversy surrounding these weird little candies, if we can even qualify them as such. A lot of people argue that these aren't actually candy, just a fun way to pretend you have fake lips.
Fake, 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 fake.
They sometimes even come with fangs or buck teeth, which can be quite fun for kids to play with, and that's probably the way it should stay, a game. They're typically discarded after everyone has had their fun and not consumed. But it happens. While the paraffin wax used in production is technically safe for consumption, it might not be the smartest thing to do. You see, paraffin wax is also what's used to make candles and crayons. It's also what surfers put on their surfboards and what skateboarders use to slick park pipes. Before you think about biting into those wax lips, ask yourself this: would you bite into a candle? If the answer is no, then there is absolutely no reason why you should be eating these. They might evoke feelings of nostalgia for some, but there's nothing actually enjoyable about this so-called candy.
How sad is that?
Stick around, leave a comment, tap or click for more great videos, hit that subscribe button, and ring that bell to join our notification squad.